Okay, so if we go to the workshop and reading files, let me make this bigger. And so here, like on even or odd, write a program that will read text file from the command line. Oh, so this one didn't actually give you a sample file, but you could have just copy this and just you can use this same value. So you can just copy this and put it into a file, because if you look here, like there was cat path to some file. So like this would be your sample file and this was the contents of that file. So yeah, you could just create a file with these contents and then use that as for testing and make sure that you get this same output that they get here. But let's do this one. This forwards is backwards, right? So in this one, what it's checking is you're opening some file. Let's just go through this. Let's copy this. This is going to be a file that we create. We're going to create a file. We're going to give the path to that file to our program, forwards is backwards. And then if we reverse the string and it's the same backwards and forwards, we're going to print true. Otherwise, we're going to print false. So let's just do that one. Let me stop sharing this and let me share let's share this one. And let's make a new file. That's called frontback.py. And then let's make our sample input file. So we just have front back input.txt. So there's that info, and then if we wanted to, we can just create some more. So noon with 3 O's. Those should both be true. And should be false. So just added some other entries to the file, but same thing. So now we start with our front back. So, and then here's a good way of approaching things as well. Is so first let's get our shebang out the way. And then before we even start writing code, let's just write comments about what we need to do, right? So what do we need to do? When we run this command, we need to take in the name of a file, the command line from command line arguments. We need to read that file, read file line by line. And then for each line, print true if the line is the same backwards and forwards. Right, so at a high level, these are the steps that we need to do, right? Agreed? And so now with these comments, we use these comments to guide what we need to do. So we see here, take a name of file from command line arguments. So if we need command line arguments, we know we need the sys module. So we'll go ahead and let's just put it right here. And let's import sys. And then we need the name of a file from the command line arguments. And so we're going to be expecting we're going to code this script to take one argument. So that one argument will be sysargv1, right? That's going to be the first argument to the command, right? So sysargv will have 2 elements, with the first element being the command script, the second element being the argument that was provided to the command script. So we'll just go ahead and say file name equal to sys argument values 1. And then just to check it, we'll just print this and make sure that everything is working as expected. So here with that, open up our command prompt and we'll do this executable, front, back, py, front, back, py with front, back, input.txt. And it printed the name of the file, the argument that we gave it. Okay, so that's working as expected. We don't need this more, we can comment this out. Now we need to read the file line by line. So we went over different ways that you could read the file. So you can, so there's 3 ways to read. There's a couple ways to read a file, right? So we could do F is equal to open, right? There's the name of that file name that we got from the command line, right? With R, reading, and then do. So let's actually do it. It's like this. Approach, right? And then we could do file contents is equal to f dot read. And then if we just print, let's print approach 1 and file. Actually, let's put a new line here. Let's do this. File contents on another line, right? So if we do this, and let's just make sure that this works. Okay, that's approach 1. That's the contents of the file. But remember, we're going to be working on this line by line. So there's also, if we comment this out, and then we did approach number 2, right? So this way we go F equals open. Actually, it's not even do that again. We already have this, so leave that there. And then this time we'll say file contents is equal to f dot read lines, plural. And then we'll print approach number 2, print file contents. And let's see if this works. And here we got each line as a separate, we got a list where each value, each element in the list is the line, right? With the new line at the end. So if we have to process each line by line, this is giving us each line separately that we can then use to loop through, right? But additionally, what we could do is if we did, and then remember, so you can just pick one of these. You don't need to memorize all 3. You need just to pick one. Essentially, they're, for our purposes, they're equivalent. There may be times where one is preferable to the other, but you can get from one to the output of another from just, you can do anything you can do with one, you can do with the other, but just with depending on which one you take, it may be an extra line of code or 2. So approach 3, what we're going to, instead of doing, we'll do with, instead of setting it to a variable the traditional way, we'll do with, and then we'll do open, right? Our file name reading as F, right? Or as file contents. Stay consistent. And now from here, I can loop over each line and just say for line in file contents. one, let me just do first print approach 3. And then here I'll say print line. And then with that, if we do that, now we got each line. But remember, print is going to give you a new line, and each line will have a new line as well. So we could just do line, or we can use the strip function to just say print line dot strip to get rid of that new line at the end that included, and then we'll get that. Right, so we see that we can use any of these approaches and get to the same result, or essentially the same result, or get the data we want in different formats. So in general, I'm going to recommend approach 3. There will be times where approach 1 or 2 may be preferable, but for this one, let's go ahead and go with approach 3. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make a new function. So we're going to make a function. So now this is getting cluttered, but let's take this out. So we got us reading the file line by line. And actually, we're not going to make a function. For each line, then print true if it's the same backwards and forwards. So here's what we're going to do. Instead of printing the line. So we're going to say, we need to determine if the line is the same backwards and forwards. So let's just make something called reversed line. And we're going to set it equal to 1. We don't care about the new line, so we want to strip the line. So we're going to say line.strip to get rid of the white space characters. And then we can just use a function called reversed. And this will give us the backwards version. And it's just to make sure, let's just print reversed line. That's not what I wanted. So instead of reverse, then let's just do, can we do just reverse? It's just giving me an object instead of the actual string. Can't do reverse on a string. Okay, so there is another way to reverse a string, to reverse any iterable object. So when I showed you line slicing, and I want to say it was Christina that mentioned that there was a step. So I showed you how we could say, so I'm going to show you something new, just to explain this syntax, because the reverse function is not giving me the actual reverse string, it's giving me a reverse iterator, which don't worry about what that is. But so we know that if I wanted just like everything after the first, like from the first character to the first 3 characters, I would do 1 through 4, and that'll give me the characters 1, 2, and 3 in the line, right? We agree about that. If we do this, that'll give us that. Oh, I commented this out. Right, that's going to give us, right, the second, third, and fourth characters in each line. Because this is where to start, this is where to stop, exclusive, so it stops at the character before this. And there is a third option that you can give, which is the step. So if I said 2, let's just say make this 5. And if I said 2, then what it's going to do is going to go every other character. So if I say print line.strip, or actually, let's just do, yeah, let's do it that way. Let's just do this way. So this will print every other character. Right, so here's print the line first and then print every other character. So R, then D, then R, C, then E, then P, right? Use the steps. So it, instead of going one by one, it went every other, right? Every two characters. Well, in addition, so I can, to reverse a string, I can go -1 and then it will go backwards. So now if I do that and I run this, we'll see now, so radar, radar. And so this is exactly what we're looking for. So when we see the two that are the same, then we know that those are the ones that should pass. Creepy, no, that didn't work. Radar, it kind of worked, but the cases don't match, so that's not a match. Noon matched, noon with 3 O's match, that matched. That one didn't match. So we know we should get true, false, false, true, true, false, right? So we have the reverse version, and then all we need to do is let's just say output is going to be equal to if line.strip. Actually, let's stop doing this. Let's set line equal to line.strip. Right. So now we've gotten the now line is just equal to the line without the new line character, and now we can just say if output is equal to line equal to reversed line, and then print the output. So with that, we go ahead and run this now, and we get what we got: true, false, false, true, true, false. Which, if we look right here, true, false, false, true, true, false. So don't worry about this part. Like, this is just, you can just chalk this up as just a little factoid to remember. With a list, you can use that reverse function, that reversed function, to get a copy of the list that's backwards, but it doesn't work exactly the same with strings. There's, like I said, like we said, there's a lot of functions that you can do with strings and that you can do on, there's a lot of ways that strings and lists will behave like the same, but there are some instances, some nuances where they behave differently. This is one of those cases, but you can just use this notation of, so just like they said, just like when we were saying before, if we want to get like all of the elements from 1 on, we just do one, we do start and don't put an end, right? Or and the converse is if we wanted everything up to a certain element, we could just do up to that element, right? So when you leave it blank, it'll just start at the beginning or the end. And so this element just means starting at the beginning, going to the end, but go backwards. Right, your start is blank, your end is blank, and your step is -1 to say go backwards. And that's pretty much that. So only this with concept is new. Probably you didn't review it. It's not something that you've seen in foundations. But remember, if you don't like this way, if you want to just do it the simplest way of doing it would be to use that approach 1. And just to kind of show you what it looked like with approach 1, it would be, so I'd say F equals open file name, right? Read file contents is equal to F dot read. But now remember, if we print this, This is all of the content as one string. So if you wanted to, for our case, we need to get radar and creepy and radar and noon all as individual values. So if we're doing it with approach 1, we then need to do, so we can split it into, let's make it, let's say lines of file is equal to file contents, and we'll split it on the new line character, right? Because each line entered a new line character. And then now this will give us, if we print lines of file, what you'll get is a list where it's each line without the new line character. And then from here, we can use our for loop, say for line in lines of file. And then from here, say first line equals line colon -1, right? Blank start, blank end, beginning to end, backwards, and print line equals reverse line. And this will give us the same output. True, false, false, true, false. True, true, false. Any questions about either of those approaches?
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Are those the only 2 approaches?
No, there's another approach. There's the approach where we could do, well, just in general, there's always going to be many ways of doing things. In code, you could do things in whatever way you like. But we could comment this up again. And instead, here, instead of using read, we can do file contents equal to f.read lines. This will give us the list of each line, but remember that these will have the new line on them. Right, so this will have the new line on them. So now we can just from here go for line in file contents, but we need to strip that new line from the line. So we can then do line is equal to line dot strip. And then the same thing, we can say for each line, so we're doing each line and say rev line equals line colon -1, and then line equal to, and once again, same thing. All right, so any questions about that?
Where would the where you would have to do f.close on that?
So when you do, if you don't use that with block, if you're using any of these, anytime you're using the f.open, so in a toy program like this, it doesn't matter. But if this was like a more robust program and I'm opening many files and doing more robust operations, then here, what I want to do is after I've read the file, to like right here, after I've read the file, I have my contents and I'm done with it, I would do f dot close to get rid of that file handle, to make sure that close that resource so that there's no lock on that file or whatever. But don't worry about that really. For our purposes, it's not going to be necessary. And if you use the with format, then you don't have, Python will handle it for you. It'll close it automatically for you. But in the size of the programs that we're doing right now, these small scripts, it's not going to cause a problem. All right. So any questions before we move on? Okay. So let me stop this recording.